Welcome. You are listening to Sharegiving Secrets with Deborah Greenhut. If you are a family caregiver or expect to be one, and you want to maintain your well-being while caring, then you are in the right place. I am your host, Deborah Greenhut, speaker, author, and rational caregiver advocate. I'm a family caregiving veteran, bringing you survival secrets and experiences from experts who share the goal of doing less by managing more. We need to invent and reinvent family care, and together we're going to do it. My big idea is rational caregiving, and my motto is, let your brain lead your heart. Please share yours in the comments. Sharegiving Secrets, because friends don't let friends be caregivers alone. Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sharegiving Secret. Today, I have a very special guest coming to us all the way from Jamaica, West Indies in the Caribbean. So I'm very proud to introduce my audience to Angela Haye, who hails from Jamaica, but she migrated to the United States as a young child. And there she finished all of her education, including degrees in business and hotel management and tourism, and later a master's degree in international marketing and management from the University of Maryland. But in 2002, life took a different turn, and Angela decided to go somewhere else. So Angela, could you tell us a bit about your background and how you come to be back in Jamaica? Good morning.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so very much, Deborah. I appreciate. Please forgive me. I'm under the weather a little bit, so my voice may be a little bit hoarse, but please bear with me. So I am back in Jamaica, and I've been back home for 20 years, but actually 24 years come next month. And I was born here, as you mentioned earlier, and I went away, did everything in the United States, and I'm back in Jamaica. And this is my home. What I appreciate the United States and I love the United States, it is my home also. But I felt that Jamaica was where my calling was. And that is why I'm back in Jamaica.
So you decided to spend this phase of your life back home, and there was a particular reason for that you found when you got here. Could you tell us a bit about the Hanover Educational Institute?
Yes. As I say, my spirit, led me back to Jamaica. When I came home, I saw the need for a second chance educational organization. Having two young children at the time, I got an opportunity to really assess the educational landscape here in Jamaica. Not necessarily as a tourist, because normally I would come home and visit for 2 or 3 weeks, but I got a chance now to really see Jamaica, the real Jamaica. And I realized that there were some links that were missing. I went to school here in my earlier years. I knew how strict the system was. I knew how disciplined we had to be. But when I came home, I saw there was a breakdown. And if I may be honest with you, Deborah, that was my culture shock coming back to Jamaica. Some of the students were in their uniforms late at night. They weren't going home on time. That was unheard of in my time. I also realized being in the educational system now, because I was working for a private school that my eldest son attended, I realized that there was a need. There was a need for a second chance educational organization here in the western side of Jamaica. I am in Western Hanover, and I realized that there was a need to have a school of this caliber here, primarily because we were facing a lot of issues with dropouts and slow learners and underachievers. We are in what you call the rural belt, deep rural belt of Jamaica. So you may, and you can imagine, Deborah, there are not a lot of opportunities for the young youth, or what we call unattached youth in this part of Jamaica who do not use education as their tool to propel them to the next level.
Well, you and I have a special bond about Jamaica because as a young child, my dad often took us to Jamaica, and we didn't just stay on the lovely beaches of the island in the sun. We actually went out and explored the countryside, and my dad was a
Mhm.
physician. And he took us to every hospital and clinic with him so we could see how people lived in other countries. And
Absolutely.
things were quite different. So you're telling me about
Yes.
the Pearl Belt, which is perhaps a narrower band than it was when I was a younger child, but it still
Mhm.
exists. And this idea of share giving is what brings you and me together and why we have so much to say to one another. So
Absolutely.
could you talk a bit about how your organization relates to caregiving work?
What an interesting question, Deborah. What an interesting question, because the type of institution that we operate here in Jamaica, and we have been doing this now for the past 21 years, going on 22 years. I must be honest with you, at first, I thought my mission would have been to take these young people off the streets or wherever they were in the community, whip them into shape in terms of, giving them additional academic training and put them through the door to go and find a job or go on to further studies. That was my understanding. Little did I know that we were going to get students who were abused. We were going to get students who were sexually abused, emotionally abused, even students who financially could not afford to come to school and pay the small fee that we were charging. We ended up we ended up having to spend a lot of time giving a lot more than just academic education to our students. And let me give you an example. We literally had to stay in touch with our students. We have had students who wanted to commit suicide. We have had students who come to school and they cry on our shoulders. Teachers had to stop teaching to pay them some attention. It was a lot more, to be honest with you, it was a lot more than we had bargained for. A lot more. So I realized early on, and that's one of the reasons, Deborah, why we became a nonprofit organization in Jamaica, because we realized students were not going to be able to pay for the type of services that we were offering. And we realized that we had to reach out to the wider community to help in providing us with the necessary resources to help these young people. We have had students who have been expelled from the government schools. We have had young men who had gotten themselves into trouble in terms of, hurting other young people. And through the court system, they were placed in our organization. We have had young girls, unfortunately, who have gotten pregnant along the way. And how our system works here in Jamaica, once you become pregnant, you are detached from the normal school system. And you have to find other alternative in terms of finishing your education. So this is the kind of work that we do here in Jamaica, in Western Hanover. All right. Um, Caregiving, yes. Let's talk about even teachers, myself included, had to dip in our pockets to take money to give a child who could not get home from school. Reality, Deborah, reality. Let's talk about we run a canteen courtesy of the Embassy of Japan because they gave us our first building. I'm sorry, correction. The second building was given to us by the Embassy of Japan. The first building was given to us by Food for the Poor through a donor out of Georgia. And in that building, now we got three classrooms, we got an office, bathroom facilities, and we had a kitchen. So what we had to do, because we realized that when food was around, we had higher attendance. So you had to link meals to education. We had to link meals to success. So we started to cook for them. And believe it or not, we were charging a small fee just to kind of replenish the kitchen each day. We couldn't meet that. because most of the students could not purchase the food. So caring, yes, it takes a lot and we give a lot. And let me say to the listeners as well, your viewers as well, we have to be particularly careful in terms of the types of educators that we get into our system. They have to have the love, they have to have the commitment, and they have to be able to give the support to these students because they are, I don't like, even though I don't like to say special, they require special attention and special love.
You raise so many good points in talking about caregiving. Now, most teachers know that children learn better if they have food in their stomachs. So that's a
Yes,
universal. And how each country or even each school or even each classroom is going to meet that is often a dilemma. So you recognize
absolutely.
and you stepped up to provide for it. And it's too bad that in
Yes,
some places governments can't recognize that this is a fundamental thing to raise the citizens you need. So educators often fall into or try to fill the gap there, which
yes, yes.
it's extraordinary sharing that you do, but it probably shouldn't have to be part of your planning for a school because it adds one more layer at least of expense that you might not have anticipated when you started the project, I'm sure.
Absolutely, Deborah. An additional level of expense that we never ever thought about. Again, as I said, we thought it would have been, you come in and we give you what you need academically and you go to your next level. But we're getting a lot of students who are wounded um, emotionally, physically, and so forth. And in order to reach them, we have to be able to provide that well, absence of the fact that we don't have a psychology or a psychologist on staff, we have to try to do our best to give them that love and that support that they need to help to balance them, to move them forward. And we have done fairly successful, or we have been fairly successful over the 22 years. We have had students gone on to University of the West Indies, the colleges in terms of nursing, teaching. We have had students in the police force. We have had students in the military. So clearly, whatever we are doing and have been doing is making a difference.
Absolutely. I think teachers often step into the breach when there's a need to be filled, whether they are psychologists or not. They have to be good listeners. And
Yes,
that's critical to a person being able to enter adulthood with some potential support behind them or not. And
uh, yes,
the many difficulties that you describe are unfortunately all too prevalent around the world, but
hmm
adding poverty to it is often the biggest deal breaker for being successful in any country. So I'm sure that your school in providing both the means to move forward economically by giving the education, but also the support that comes from feeding someone breakfast. I know World Kitchen has that as its main purpose is to feed people so that they can learn and thrive in a
and yes.
so this is part of a very large movement and
hmm
each one arm of it or one branch of it. But if we don't do it, I really don't think about the consequences for this world. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. The teachers, myself, we joke about it. We ask ourselves, why are we really doing this type of work? Because we are qualified. We can move on and get regular mainstream jobs that will pay us. But I recognize, Deborah, coming back, and I think, as I said to you earlier, my spirit led me back to this place, not Kingston, where, it's a more corporate world, but back into the rural side of Jamaica because there's a purpose for me. There's a purpose for me, and I believe that purpose has to be fulfilled. Even though, yes, it's a struggle, I will admit that. It's a challenge, but at the same time, it's very fulfilling. And we get a lot out of giving back. I was once a young girl in the same community, attending some of these same schools. I can identify and I can relate. And it gives me great pleasure that I was able to be afforded the opportunity to go to the United States, courtesy of my mother. And I was able to utilize what was given to me in the United States and have the privilege of returning to Jamaica and being able to impart that to some of the young people here, what we call the young, unattached youth who really do need this. So not all of us can be in the corporate world. I don't believe that. Some of us must be at this level to help, to get, continue to help so that the wheel can continue to spin.
I'm sure that makes you a kind of Uber caregiver because you are the person gathering and recruiting other caregivers to do this work. So
Absolutely.
what is the most difficult part of finding or hiring? Well, hiring may not be the best word because what I'm going to say is recruiting volunteers to help you.
Mm. All right. Jamaica, we have persons in Jamaica that have very big hearts. But here's the reality of it, Deborah. They too sometimes are struggling. So it cannot be totally altruistic. We still have to have, even if it's what you call a stipend, whether it's for transportation or whatever the case may be, we still have to find something to give them because these are not prominent persons who have retired from, big positions and they have, big savings and that type of thing. They too are also struggling, but they have a big heart. And I've had a community of persons, to be honest with you, that have worked alongside with me on this project and continue to work alongside with me on this project. We have had teachers who take less pay. We have had our admin staff that takes less pay. We have had persons, our what we call our ancillary staff, the cooks and those persons who just take a stipend just to ensure that the children can get a hot meal. Sometimes they even take whatever little they have and they share it with the students to ensure that they can get to school the next day. And Deborah, they're not afraid to tell you because we have what we call an open door policy. We tell our students, talk to us. Let us know what you're going through. We do not want you to be absent from the program. It will be counterproductive. We will help you to get to school because we would like for you to be able to get the offering, take up the offerings so you can move forward with your future. So we have my door is always open, the secretary's door is always open, all of the teachers, we have an open door policy, and that has worked for us over the years.
So I wanted to ask you, because this takes so much of a commitment of your heart, your resources, and your time, there's another side of this kind of generosity that people exhibit. So how do you handle your own self-care to make sure that it does not overwhelm you?
Another important question. I meditate. I take time to reflect. I take my rest days. And I was a part of Rotary International, which is another voluntary organization. I put that is how I give back in terms of my voluntary work. Even though you could classify even Hanover Education Institute, the school I operate, as a voluntary organization as well. But I give back because I realize that the more I give to others, is the stronger my own life becomes. It's kind of paradoxical, isn't it? The more I give is the more I get in return. And that helps to keep me balanced. It helps to make me happy. I'm driven, I'm self-motivated, and I love what I do. So I have had moments when I have my downtime which I'm sure all persons do. I just step back and I just take it easy, refresh my mind, go back to into my psyche, into my vision, and ask myself, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? I always have to constantly put that at the forefront of my mind. And it has worked and it is working. I have a great family. I have two wonderful sons. I have my mom, my husband. I have a very supportive and loving family that helps to balance me out as well. I have great friends. So it has worked and I'm sure it will continue to work. But yes, I have to be careful not to get too inundated with sometimes the mundane. Sometimes it's financial. Sometimes it's we have had students who really do need more than we can offer because we've had those too, right? So I have to be careful to learn the landscape, learn the personality of each child that we get. Each year we have a new cohort of students. I am involved. I teach personal development. That is one of the tools that we use to help to balance our students. Now, personal development is basically soft skills, they're life skills. So we talk about a myriad of issues, a lot of what they would be facing. We talk about leadership initiative, conflict resolution, just basically how to take yourself, grooming, personal grooming, and those type of things to help to balance them out. That also helps me. So I stay connected because I am getting older, but I'm not getting older because of my relationship with the young people. So I stay strong and I stay firm. And most importantly, I absolutely love what I do.
That is such a beautiful, well-rounded portrait of a giver. You know, they say that we get more from giving than from receiving, and I hear that so much in your story. And I recall my first teaching experiences were actually in a one-room schoolhouse in a much colder environment up in New England. And for me, it was the life-altering experience of being able to give an experience of outside the mountains to a group of children who might never go much further away from their home than a mile,
Absolutely.
because in those days people tended to stay near the farms.
Hmm. Hmm.
Have that exchange with children. I was a volunteer, nobody was paying me to do it, but
Hmm.
I learned to teach. And the students who are often the most challenging are the ones who give back most to you as a teacher, as I'm sure you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
experienced.
And as you're speaking about the mountains, that's one of our signature trips that we try to take each year. We take them to the Blue Mountains, which is a world away from their worlds. And no telephone, no electricity, no running water. Everything is in the natural state. Um, just about everything that we do as it relates to the offerings that we give to the children is to pull them up, is to empower them. I'm living in a country where we are blessed to have sun, sea, and sand. But with our children, it's more than just sun, sea, and sand. We want them to learn about their customs and their culture and to know that there's a different world. Because living in the countryside, Deborah, they think that this is what life is, this is the world. So, as much as possible, we try to expose them to a bigger world. When the Japanese came on board and gave us, we were granted almost 100,000 US to build our training center. We took them to the ambassador's residence to be a part of the handing over of the check. We want to open up their minds, let them see that there's a bigger world, that people can trust you. Because here again, I believe we were the only single entity, private entity, that was given that kind of money. Because normally, the what they call the embassy they work with government to government agencies. We were not a government agency, and we were able to write a grant and manage that grant and build a training center. So I'm trying as best as I can, along with the teachers and the other staff members, to show them that if you walk the right way, work the right way, speak the right way, do the right things, you can get whatever you want. You can achieve whatever you want. It's just all about honesty. It's all about discipline. And we try to, and not just talk to them in words, but we try to do things, do activities that will drive home those types of values that we teach them.
I'm so impressed by this because it gives people a picture that caregiving is a global necessity and a global phenomenon, that it's something we cannot live without. We need to extend ourselves to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to mention before we go, because we're coming close to the end of our time, that Angela has a program on Facebook called Let's Talk, where you
Yes.
can hear from her quite frequently. And I hope that you will consider joining her through her social media links, which will be posted in our show notes. And I'm going to give Angela the last couple of minutes to talk a bit about any project otherwise that she wants to mention, or those media links where you can find her. Angela?
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Right. So we are located on the Hanover Educational Institute is on Facebook. Um, Let's Talk is also on Facebook at Angela R. Haye. I have not set up, unfortunately, we have to set up an Instagram page. We do not have that for the school as yet. A lot of our postings are done through Facebook. And moving forward, there are a couple of projects. Well, let me state one other point before I get to that. I would just like your listeners to know that we still need a lot of help with the students that we're getting. A lot are still suffering financially. So I have broken it down for your listeners. For $2.75 per day, they can help a child get to school, get a meal, and if they need assistance with transportation, that can be done. $2.75 US cents per day for 1 year. Just work that out. It's roughly about 83 US dollars per month. And for 1 year, it's 1,000 US dollars. Quite reasonable. And they will get a hot meal, they'll get transportation, and whatever other assistance that they need. So if persons are interested in helping us to adopt a child, to send a child to the school, we would be grateful. Moving forward, we're in the position now through another friend, we call honorary director of the Hanover Education Institute. We were given the opportunity to purchase the land that currently houses the school. So we are seeking to raise 60,000 US dollars to purchase 3 acres of property because we have to expand our program to include additional vocational training. Again, we're in the tourism belt of Jamaica. We don't have the World Banks and the IMF and all of these things. We have hotels. That's what we have. So we have to train our people to get into those jobs. And Deborah, we're having rapid growth here in Western Jamaica. We just had the Princess Hotel come on stream with 1,000+ rooms. We have the Grand Palladium that has been here roughly over maybe 15 years, expanding with another 1,000 rooms. They're slated to have a Hilton Hotel coming close to Negril. So it's happening. We have to train our young people to get into these jobs. And by the way, there's a shift. Prior, it used to be just, our people getting into the hotel, working in the service aspect of the business, bartending, housekeeping. But guess what? They're hiring our people now at the managerial level. So we want to be able to help them to pick up some of those jobs. But we need the training. They need the training and we need the resources to provide that training. So we want to launch a GoFundMe that will help to support our initiative of raising that 60,000. to help with purchasing the property. And it is a giveaway, Deb. It is a giveaway. The land is located right over the Caribbean Sea. It is on the main stretch leading from Montego Bay to Negril. It's a beautiful site. They can check us out. We are on Facebook there. They can look at it. And we want to be able to expand and do more for the children in the community. And let me add to that is we have students currently from the neighboring parish of Westmoreland. It's not just Hanover. We get students from St. James, which is Montego Bay is located in St. James. We get students from there as well. We have had students who are interested from Trelawney, which is a little ways away from here. So the program that we're offering is enticing. Persons want to be a part of it. But of course, sometimes the distance poses a problem. So if we can help to support that, then we can offer more on a wider scale throughout what we call the region, which is Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James.
This is so extraordinary. And as I hear you talk about it, I think it was probably written in the stars that you should go to school to learn how to run this type of business and be able to connect with hotel managers and help bootstrap your own country. What an amazing arc of experience that you bring to this program. And I'm so delighted we had at least a small chance to talk today, and hope we'll do it again as things progress for you. And please remember, Angela is going to start a GoFundMe, so if you'll check in at Facebook, and for less than that coffee every day that we all have to get, we could help a child to be fed and schooled and transported so that this person's life would be a different outcome than he or she might ever have expected before. So Angela, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being with you today. And it was fantastic sharing our story from the island of Jamaica. And we're looking forward to further collaboration in the future. Thank you so very much, Deborah.
It's my pleasure. And everyone, please remember that this is that season where we talk a lot about Sharegiving, and it's really time that we all step up and do it. So choose your project, choose your person, and give some extra time. Thank you.
And I will add to that once you adopt a child, you will be getting the profile of that child. You'll get to interact with the child. And we have done so in the past with persons from Germany. So, we are used to that. And by the way, they're very excited to know that somebody believes in them too and is willing to give them an opportunity to continue, for them to continue on their journey. So
delightful. I thank you again, and I wish you a pleasant day and much success in continuing to build that.
thank you. Thank you so very much. Have a great afternoon. I know in Jamaica it's 2 o'clock. I'm assuming it's 2 o'clock where you are, Deborah.
We're back in the zone.
And let me say this, I think today was a blessing because guess what is happening outside as we're speaking now?
The
Rain. The rain. The rain just came down. So have a blessed afternoon. And thank you so much for having me in your program.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today on the Sharegiving Secret, How to Survive Family Caregiving. I love sharing these insights and stories to empower you on your caregiving journey. If today's conversation resonated with you, consider diving deeper by picking up a copy of my pamphlet, Non-Negotiables for Caregivers. It's filled with great strategies to help you think through how to maintain your well-being while caregiving. Nobody wants to become Carezilla, right? Visit sharegiving.net to get this resource that can help you navigate your caregiver path with grace and resilience. Let's continue to share our stories and support each other. Until next time, keep sharing, keep caring, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. Thank you.